Hello, Mr. Harrell. This is John Mark Johnson Jr. I'm the person who is the host of Reformed GGA, this YouTube channel. And I just wanted to drop you a line and first of all say that I appreciate your channel to a great extent and have learned a lot from it and really enjoy a lot of the videos that you make. And it's nice to be appreciated, but I also wanted to make a request. Obviously, you're going to do what you're going to do, and that's fine and dandy and good, but just wanted to throw an idea for a video out there. Recently, I have come across this stuff from Fort Scott Munitions. This is a 9mm round, 80 grain, and I don't really, frankly, have the means to do some of the testing that you do, at least from time to time. And I was kind of wondering if you might want to go ahead and test this stuff sometime. If you have trouble getting a hold of it or those kinds of things, you can contact me. I'm also on Facebook and through Facebook Messenger. You can get a hold of me on Facebook. I'm known as Thomas Matthews, mostly just because Facebook is weird and they didn't like Reformed GGA. But I'm on Facebook as well. Of course, here on YouTube, you can drop a comment. We can get a hold of each other if you have a hard time getting a hold of this stuff. I can help you get a hold of it. But it'd be really cool if we could see these rounds tested from Fort Scott Munitions. Supposedly, these are supposed to be pretty great little rounds, and there's kind of two sides of this that I would really like to have explored if you're willing. On the one hand, these rounds are, as you can see, a very interesting shape for a 9mm, very pointy, basically a spear point projectile, and they're solid copper. And supposedly this gives them the ability to be armor defeating. It would be interesting to test and see if these actually will defeat a 3A body armor in your experience, and also what barrel length is required for that, because of course, at least to a certain extent, the longer the barrel, the greater the velocity, more likely it's going to be able to get through things. It'd be interesting to see just how long of a barrel you need to get through body armor with this, like level 3A body armor with this. Supposedly it can do it, and there are some videos out there that show, at least with some kinds of 3A body armor, if you have like a 4.5, 5-inch barrel, that this stuff will indeed go through some types of 3A body armor. The question though is how much less than that can you get and it still be effective? Does a 4.25-inch barrel work? Does a 4-inch barrel work? How about 3 3/4? 3.5. Be interesting to see just how low you can go. And then that brings up a kind of an interesting comparison. If this in fact can defeat 3A body armor, which is definitely a pretty big claim for a 9mm round, because most of the time, especially out of handguns, they don't do that. If it does turn out that they can go through 3A body armor, how does that stack up with something that is actually designed to go through 3A body armor? That would also be in the handgun realm, like say the FN57. The FN57, shooting the right 5.7 by 28 rounds, can in fact go through 3A body armor, and you've shown that on many occasions. It'd be interesting to see that if this stuff can get through 3A body armor, how does it do on something like say the meat targets relative to how well the 5.7 by 28 does on the meat targets after going through body armor. That is one side of this that I would really like to see explored, because if this can get through body armor, you have the potential of turning a full-size 9mm gun like this P07 that holds 19+1 in a standard magazine into basically something that's the equivalent of a 5.7. Now, granted, guns like that are going to be a little bit heavier than the 5.7, but as far as overall size is concerned, it's a full-size handgun. 19+1, 20 rounds. FN57 standard magazine is 20+1. So it's kind of comparable, and guns like this are usually a whole lot cheaper than a 5.7 is. So for people that are interested in having rounds that can defeat body armor and hold a fairly large capacity, 9mm might be a decent alternative to 5.7 if this round actually does what some people claim it can do. That's one side of this that I would really like to see explored if you have the time. The other side of this is the claim that these rounds are so effective on targets that they are the match of a typical 45 hollow point. Now, to a certain extent, I have a little bit of a hard time believing that. There's some evidence to suggest that it's true, different tests and gel tests and those kinds of things. But I'd really like to see it in the meat target. So what I'm kind of asking for more than anything else, aside from just testing the rounds and seeing how they work, is actually basically a set of 2 meat target tests. One meat target test against 3A level body armor, where we're putting it up against the 5.7 to see how that works and what that comparison would be like. And then another meat test with no body armor, where we're taking this and we're putting it up against a conventional 45 hollow point. It's one of the claims that are out there, and there's lots of people who like to say, just as powerful. Well, I don't believe just as powerful, but maybe just as effective, maybe? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how that comes out. When you do the meat target test with this thing versus a regular 45 hollow point, is the damage comparable, and maybe to the point where the difference between the two isn't overly significant? And if that's the case, that makes this a really interestingly viable round for self-defense purposes, because these rounds have very little recoil. I've used them a number of times, and very, very little recoil to them. They're only 80 grains, and of course it's 9 mil, which isn't overly powerful in the first place. So really light bullets, fairly light powder charge. If I can get the same effect on target with something like this that I would with a 45, why on earth would I ever want to carry a 45 then? Brings up an interesting question, and I think a legitimate one. Are we getting to the point with these solid copper rounds where you actually can exceed the normal performance with hollow points to the point where a 9mm becomes comparable with a 45 on something like a meat target? I'd really be interested in that. If you got through this entire video, thank you very much for your time and attention. And as I said, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, doing basically a set of meat target tests, one comparing this round to the FN57 and another one comparing this to a conventional hollow point in 45 caliber that is, feel free to contact me, and I'll see what I can do about getting you set up with some of these rounds to test. I know that you have a number of 9mm guns that you have access to, and frankly, you are the king of the meat target test. Nobody wants to watch me do the meat target test. They want to see Paul Harrell do the meat target test, and frankly, I cannot agree with them more. If that sounds like it's something that's up your alley, feel free to contact me, or of course, go ahead and get a hold of it yourself. There's no reason why you have to go through me. Fort Scott Munitions is something that you can buy online if you want to. You can go to their website and purchase as many of them as you want to. I'm sure that as long as you give them money, they'll be more than happy to provide you with them. But yeah, that is my request. Thank you very much for listening to it, and have an awesome day. Thank you.